Folks here in Eastern Oregon will tell you there are really two Oregons. They point to a mostly liberal Western Oregon and a mostly conservative Eastern Oregon. These two regions are separated by much more than the majestic Cascade Mountain range. The western part is dominated by Portland, an urban bastion of progressive policy that prides itself on being weird. Portland is also plagued by epidemic levels of crime, drug abuse, homelessness, and mental illness. Because of its large population, Portland drives state politics. Portland's leaders have become state leaders, and Portland's progressive policies have become state policies. That's resulted in drug legalization, gun control, gender, and environmental laws being forced on the very conservative communities of rural Eastern Oregon.
All right, move Oregon's border.
11 counties there have voted for their officials to consider leaving Oregon and joining something called Greater Idaho. 4 more counties are expected to join them.
You know, if you stop and think about it, it's almost like a divorce.
Mike McCarter is the president of Citizens for Greater Idaho.
Do I agree with divorce? No, but it happens, and that's what we've got. We've got a division in the state that is almost not reconcilable.
Just over the Cascades in the Eastern Oregon community of Lapine, I sat down with supporters of the Greater Idaho movement. All were concerned about how Western Oregon's liberal agenda was being forced on them and their families.
We're dealing with a state that is democratic and liberal.
We're Christians, and the social agenda that's being pushed by the Democratic Party is really more than offensive to us.
Our schools here, they're all going downhill. All the kids, their education is going downhill.
We don't really have a voice. They're silenced completely.
I'm tired of watching the state fall apart. I don't want it to turn into another California.
If I thought the movement was going to fail, I'd right now start taking more steps to get out of this state.
There are, of course, plenty of critics who say this campaign has zero chance of becoming reality. But the folks behind this movement feel as if they have no choice but to try.
We don't think we're wasting our time. The people that are voting for this don't think we're wasting our time. We see this as a solution that makes sense, is a win-win for everybody involved, and the people support it.
Matt McCaw is the spokesman for Citizens for Greater Idaho.
State lines have moved before in the United States, multiple times. So this absolutely can happen as soon as the elected leaders in Idaho and Oregon decide that it makes sense for everybody involved to happen.
The Oregon-Washington border shifted as recently as 1958. However, getting Oregon and Idaho and Congress to sign on to this proposal would be a tall order. Polls have shown a majority of Idahoans would favor the creation of a Greater Idaho. The Idaho House passed a non-binding memorial welcoming talks with Oregon on the matter. But the Idaho Senate failed to act on the issue in the last legislative session. McCaw says there is incentive for Western Oregon to agree to the move. If Eastern Oregon leaves, it would give Western Oregon a supermajority to pass any spending bills it wanted. And wealthier Western Oregon already spends disproportionately more tax dollars on poorer Eastern Oregon. New Oregon Governor Tina Kotek, a Democrat, says she wants to heal the rift and has vowed to visit every county in Eastern Oregon. Kotek said, "I want to reset this relationship with rural Oregonians so that they feel heard."
Western Oregon leaders, governors, candidates have been saying for a very long time that we are going to listen to Eastern Oregonians. We're going to understand your concerns. We're going to give you, a seat at the table. It just isn't happening. As we see the bills that are coming through the Oregon legislature right now, we do not see Eastern Oregonians being heard or represented.
There are simmering or active exit movements by conservative counties in at least 8 democratically controlled states. And if the Greater Idaho movement fails, McCarter says the state has got to come up with a solution, but that his movement will have no part of civil disobedience.
Why can't people ask and vote for the government they want? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do it the legal way, not civil disobedience. Most of us who have a pretty good solid faith know that God's in control.
Dale Hurd, CBN News in Eastern Oregon.